Good morning. My name is Emily Underwood. I'm the Community Initiative Specialist at the Missouri Historical Society. I'm here today with my colleague Shakia Gillette, who is the Director of African American History Initiatives. And we want to thank you for joining us virtually today and welcome you to this installment of STL History Live, Women Support St. Louis, Part 2. The Missouri Historical Society hosts 2 STL History Live programs every week. Those are on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. and Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. And we also host a biweekly Soldiers Memorial Chow and Chat that takes place on Wednesdays at noon. So you can check out the full lineup for all of those at our website, which is mohistory.org, or you can find the events on our Missouri History Museum Facebook page under the events listing. We've also been hosting a temporary series called How Did We Get Here? Exploring issues of race in St. Louis. And that actually wraps up tonight at 6:30 p.m. with a conversation with Michelle Duster, Ida B. Wells, and today's street journalism. Michelle Duster is the great-granddaughter of Ida B. Wells, and she's going to discuss how Wells pioneered data journalism and how her legacy continues to resonate today. Before we get started with our program, I want to say a few thank yous. First, a really big thank you to all of our members for supporting us and helping to keep our building open and programs running always and especially during this time. So we sincerely appreciate that. If you're not a member, but you're interested in the things that we do and you like our programs and exhibits, I would encourage you to check out our membership program, and you can look in the chat there. I've posted a link that you can click on to get more information. I also want to recognize the support of the Zoo Museum Tax District with a big thank you to everyone in the St. Louis region for your tax contributions. If you have questions for our presenters today, our panelists today, you can submit those through the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and we'll do our best to get to as many as we can in the time that we have. And if you want to go back and watch this program a second time or share it out with friends and family, you can find it starting on Monday, next Monday, on the Missouri Historical Society YouTube channel. And then finally, at the end of the program, we would love to get your feedback. So you'll notice at some point during the presentation, a tab is going to open up. It'll have a very brief survey on it. We really do value your feedback and take it to heart. So please take a moment or two to let us know what you think. Okay, so this past Saturday, the Missouri History Museum opened a new exhibit called Beyond the Ballot, St. Louis and Suffrage. And in addition to placing St. Louis in the story of the suffrage movement, this exhibit highlights 32 local women who played a significant role in shaping our community and making change in our community before they even had access to the vote. And this exhibit was originally intended to open in the spring. For obvious reasons, that didn't happen. But we were still thinking about these stories and these women and how to connect them with the women of today. And then as we started to all sort of shelter in place or stay at home more, we were looking at, taking in the news and processing what was happening in our world. And we noticed that along with a lot of the scary news that was coming out, we were also seeing a lot of wonderful stories of people stepping up to help their communities. And while there are certainly plenty of men who are helping their communities, we don't want to discredit the men out there who are doing good work. We did notice that there were a lot of stories about women doing this work, and it was really almost impossible for us not to make that connection between the women we're seeing today and the women in our exhibit whose stories are from 100 or even 200 years ago. And so today we're going to be joined by 2 of those women who have very generously agreed to take a little bit of time to share their stories and their work with us today. And that is Miranda Jones of Better Family Life and Dessa Summerside of Maplegood. And Miranda and Dessa, if you want to turn your videos on and join us, we'd love to see you. Welcome. So to start, what we're going to do is we're going to ask each of our guests to take a few minutes to introduce themselves and talk about their work. I'll give a brief intro and then I'll turn it over to them to tell you more, and we'll share a few pictures and then we'll have some conversation. So we're going to start with Miranda Jones, who is the Interim Chief Operations Officer and Vice President of Youth, Family, and Clinical Services for Better Family Life. Mrs. Jones has also been a board director for the award-winning Jennings School District for 15 years. In 2019, she was reelected to serve her 3rd term as the Ward 1 councilwoman and is the current mayor pro tem for the city of Jennings. She also serves on the board of advisors for the Monsanto YMCA and the National Board of America Scores. And that's all on top of being a wife and mother of 3. And I'm going to turn it over to Miranda to tell you a little bit more about her work.
Good morning, everyone. It is still morning, right? So, this has been a time that we have never seen before. And I'll tell you personally, from being a mother and being in politics and working in a nonprofit, I've seen the cross section of things happening. And there's been a lot of things that have not been so great, but there's also been some things that have come out of this that I'm hoping will help us into going into the future with a different outlook on how we work together and how we do our work to support our community. Just, as a professional working in Better Family Life, we've done every Tuesday and Thursday we have food outreaches. So we are making sure that food insecurity is not an issue for people in our community. And we're finding with people out of work and not having the same kind of financial stability, that the first thing we want to do is to make sure that they're eating and that they're trying to stay healthy. The other things that we're doing, being the vice president of youth, is making sure that our kids are staying engaged, which is difficult. They got a little burned out with virtual school that last semester. I'll tell you, I have three. I got one in high school, middle school, and one in elementary school, and them trying to get used to that was really difficult. So what we've tried to do is to give them other supports virtually. We've done virtual parties, we do virtual games, we have a Facebook Power Night for parents to just listen to some music and try to get away from things. On top of doing our classes, we have a virtual soccer league going on right now. We have virtual art, virtual dance, and we're doing everything that we can to keep kids connected, keep them social. We're doing golf. We have a PGA golf team. So, our goal is to do whatever we can to keep our kids engaged. On top of that, then there's the community work. And we work as a board member in Jennings, supporting our teachers through this was really difficult, showing them love and them having to change their classrooms and go completely virtual. So we've been doing that kind of support in our community. On top of that, then we have the racial justice issues, which, in 2014, I remember the day so vividly. I was outside at a back to school event when Mike Brown was shot in Canfield Drive. And I remember all the police leaving. And so from 2014 to now, we have been in this fight for the struggle of justice and equality. And so, this is a part of the work this year with it coming back to the forefront with all the things that have happened this year. We've been leading protests with children, helping them to lead protests. So I'll be standing behind them like, here's a good chant, and watching them to drive the process. So that's one of the ways that I've been trying to support a community in every way possible. Food drives, helping with, having kids to lead in protest, and all these other things that we have to do when we have all these different intersections of life coming together, from urban violence to racial injustice. And then with COVID, it's been a time when we've all had to just step up and do everything that we can to try to help our community.
Thank you so much, Miranda. And we'll look forward to hearing even more about that in a little bit. We're going to move on to Dessa Summerside. Dessa graduated from Washington University in St. Louis in 2013 with a dual master's degree in public health and social work. And upon completion of her program, she was accepted into the Mickey Leland International Hunger Fellowship with the Congressional Hunger Center. And she worked as a nutrition program officer in the UN World Food Program in Cambodia. And when she completed her fellowship, she went on to work as the Director of Quality Systems at Project Peanut Butter, overseeing quality and safety of ready-to-use therapeutic food production at 3 factories in Africa. She's currently COO of Ariel Foods FCE in Lagos, Nigeria, and Insta Products in Nairobi, Kenya. And in March 2020, Dessa started Maplegood, and she did that with the help of the Maplewood Richmond Heights community. And I'm going to just let her tell you more about that. She can say it better than I can.
Thanks so much, Emily. Good morning, everybody. This really is a community effort, completely grassroots. We started March 17th, so right when COVID was starting to hit the United States, and it started by just reaching out to see how we could help our neighbors to get them groceries. I think the concern was the elderly neighbors and immunocompromised neighbors who should not be going to the grocery store, and what solutions there could be for them to get them groceries and medicine. So on March 17th, I printed out just flyers with my name and my phone number saying I was a Maplewood mom and helping, wanting to help out neighbors. And we just went around to all the different apartment buildings and houses in Maplewood and Richmond Heights and started spreading the word to let people know that there are neighbors out there willing to help. And it kind of took off after that, I would say. We have about 1,000 members that are part of this effort. Our platform is on Facebook, so we use that for most of our communication. And now it is more than just medicine and grocery delivery. We do all sorts of things. So there's a mask program where this is a picture actually of a mask tree where we're distributing masks throughout the community at bus stations. Once they said that you needed a mask to ride the bus, we put these up at some of the bus stops. I think we're in, I want to say at least 6 different bus stops in Maplewood and Richmond Heights where we have masks up. We do a buddy program, which is for elderly and homebound people, so that we have neighbors that are checking in on them every so often over the phone to make sure everybody's doing okay. We have food and hygiene pantries. So this is a picture of our Hygiene Heroes box that's down the road that people fill up with hygiene items. We also have mini food pantries throughout the community. This is a picture of one of them. So some people have turned their little libraries into food pantries. We have about 7 or 8 of these throughout Maplewood and Richmond Heights. So people can leave what they can and take what they need. And it's been a huge help for the community in this time. And it's been a great opportunity for neighbors to get to know each other through organizing on the Facebook page, communicating about what the needs are, and just meeting each other at the food pantries to say hi and to check in with one another. We also had a program helping essential workers. So we would buddy them up to make sure that they were doing okay, make sure if they needed groceries or just do nice things for each other. So those who are working in the medical field, just watching out for them. We do some community activities. So this was a parade that we had for the St. Mary's Hospital, where we got some community members together to do a parade for them. We've done chalk events for them, so decorating in front of the hospital with chalk. We've had some kids activities where we have these little, a rock garden in one of our parks. So encouraging people to paint rocks and put them in the rock garden with uplifting messages. And now we're starting a student support program to help make sure that the students in our neighborhood have different activities to encourage them. We are starting virtually this year, so I think that's going to create a lot of challenges for a lot of families, and we're trying to see what we can do to help families, to encourage them, to try to connect them with other families that maybe have similar issues they just want to talk about, or if they want to help each other out with childcare, or if we can do some virtual programming for different extracurricular activities or socially distant activities, then we're going to start organizing things around helping out the different students in our neighborhood also. So we organized kind of with the idea of mutual aid. It's not necessarily like an organization that's implementing everything. It is a community coming together. All of the programs we have been ideas from the community. We're not a 501c3. We're not a nonprofit. We are just neighbors helping each other out, working together to make our community better, to make sure everybody's included in this work. So an example, and this happens so often, where somebody will call and ask for something specific, but they'll let me know what they're doing in the community to help out. There was a mother who called who needed diapers for her baby, but she was letting me know she was okay on food after I asked her. She said she's been making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for all of the kids in her apartment building, but she just needed diapers. So we were able to get her diapers. So it's really been a community effort, and it's a great platform for people to kind of plug in to do what they can. So people have all sorts of challenges right now, but maybe they're able to make a couple phone calls on a day to ask our neighbors who needs produce that Saturday. Or maybe somebody can run to the store for somebody else. Or maybe somebody really can't do anything with their time, but they'll donate some money towards somebody else's groceries. So it really is giving an opportunity for everybody to kind of fit in where they need to ask help when they need um, to support each other.
Thank you so much. Thank you to both of you. I'm gonna stop the share on the screen and I'm gonna turn it over to Shakia to get us started. Just talking a little bit more.
Wonderful. You ladies are so inspiring, and I can't wait to dig into the conversation and learn more about your work. But before we learn more about that, the first question that I want to ask is, how has COVID-19 impacted your life personally? We know what you've been doing, with your work in the community, but how has it affected you?
Jesse, you want to go first, or I'll take it? Um, well, personally, I mean, it has been. I'm trying not to get too emotional about it because there has been some real. There's been a lot of pain around COVID in our community. So I live in Jennings, which at the beginning of COVID actually had the highest COVID rate in the whole state of Missouri. Actually, the 63136 zip code. So we at Better Family Life, we lost a dear staff member early. In March, we lost a staff member to COVID. And, so just starting there with the reality of what COVID has really done to our community and how many people I know, and having to support family and friends and coworkers as they have lost loved ones. So, COVID has been real. It's been real for us. It has, we've actually seen lives lost to this. So that's a big effect. So trying to comfort and console others and still stay, keep your own sanity and pull yourself together so that you can continue the fight and do what's right. I mean, that's been the personal effect. So I'm kind of digging deep to where it's been emotionally for me. As a mother with 3 kids at 3 different levels and trying to, navigate them through virtual school. One of my children is going to be a senior this year. So this was her 2nd semester of her junior year. And it's been excruciating for her not to see her friends and to have that high school experience that, we probably took for granted being a junior in high school and, now starting her senior year virtually. So I'm having to deal with her emotions around that. And, it's, just really seeing them, the little one my 8-year-old, she's fine. She'll blow through it. And she has a personality that allows her to do that. My senior, she's a little shy, a little more reserved. So this social impact that it's having on her, it obviously affects me being her mother and watching and wanting so much for her and trying to make the right decisions for them. Do they start, do they go virtual? Do they do all online? So, it has deeply impacted me on a lot of ways. And on the flip side, it's giving me hope because I do see people like Dessa and people bringing, people together. And I'm trying to see the silver lining around all of this. Right. And so I'm always searching for that. So, while it has impacted me in those ways, it's just giving me more energy to do the work that needs to be done in the community and to try to push through and help others to push through this situation.
Thank you, Miranda, for your transparency. Dessa, would you mind telling us a little bit about the personal impact that COVID has had on you?
Yeah, it's definitely changed a lot for my life, just in the sense that normally I'm usually out of the country 60 to 70% of my time. So I'm usually traveling 3 weeks gone, 2 weeks home. And that stopped in early March. And I haven't been outside of Maplewood since then. So that has been very different for me. But I have to say, our family's been very privileged in all of this. I'm able to keep my job, even though I'm normally traveling a lot. I'm able to work from home. My partner is an engineer and he works from home anyways. So for him, it's been, not much of a transition. We are foster parents and we only have one placement. She was finishing her junior year last year as well. And she actually enjoyed it. So she really liked that work at your own pace on your computer. And she did great. And she's looking forward to starting next year online. I think there have been times when she really is missing that social interaction outside of the three of us. And she hasn't really been able to express that, but we can tell that is missing, and she's really struggling with having those friends that she can see every day. So it's been very different, but for our family, it's been an opportunity to kind of be together, which we don't often have. And it's been an incredible experience connecting with our neighbors and our community and building community and being more engaged in city council meetings, which are now on Zoom, and school board meetings, which are now on Zoom. It almost makes things a little bit more accessible for people. It has been hard in some ways, and it has, we have found the silver lining again in how we're making it work, and we're trying different things, and some things we don't want to go back and to the way things were before. But obviously there are a lot of people in the community that are really suffering and that are really having a hard time. So I think it's important to think about, what can we do as a community to help each other out during these times?
Thank you.
Well, thank you. I guess I want to ask both of you, Miranda, you had already mentioned a little bit about, the community. You already worked with your community and trying to serve the community in that locally. I know Dessa works with that too, but you're all over the world. So I guess I'm curious to know about the impact of COVID on the people you work with, if they're the same people, if you're seeing a lot of new people reaching out to Better Family Life, what some of the changes you're seeing or not seeing in your community as a result of coronavirus.
Actually, it has been the same community. However, honestly, yes, we have seen more people that have accessed our food pantries, more people that are coming in. I think right now, honestly, I think we're about to reach where the COVID, I don't want to say COVID climax in terms of the impact on the community. I don't know that we're even there yet, because now there were programs that were put in place, right? When you had the $600 additional for unemployment, and there were some things that stopped home evictions and things of that nature. So I think that now that these programs are winding down and coming to an end, now we're going to really see the work increase. Now we're going to see people really needing more things for home and needing more things for unemployment. A lot of these jobs that they were on unemployment and they're trying to go back to work, those jobs have shut down. We've lost so many restaurants and so many other places. So now people are really going to start seeing the effects of COVID now. So I think the next 6 months is going to bring about some real work that has to be done in our community. I think in terms of there's several programs. I know with the CARES Act, now we get to see if this really is going to work, because there's CARES Act money that's been given to different organizations to help with rental assistance and utility assistance. So how well we do in terms of making sure that the money gets to where it needs to go and how fast it needs to get there. I think that this is where we're going to see a whole different group of people accessing these services.
Thank you. And Dessa, have you been able to kind of see any changes that you can really notice from the Maplewood Richmond Heights community previously to now?
I think I was actually surprised in the beginning when we put out the flyers. It said flyers to help get groceries and medicine. And if you can't afford them, let us know and we'll figure it out. And in the beginning, we would distribute flyers and I would get calls immediately that day, a few hours later. And most of those calls in the beginning were people who couldn't afford groceries. And getting to know these people, it actually was interesting to know that it was not due to COVID. And we should have been doing this work a long time ago. These, you know, we have people in our community who do not have access to food or who struggle to have access to food. And there was nothing. I mean, we do have 2 food pantries, but if they didn't know about them, then they weren't accessing them. So just getting to know people in our community and getting to know what their needs are and being able to plug them into the resources that are there. And if maybe they don't qualify, figuring out something else. So in the beginning, it was very eye-opening for us to learn that there are people in our community who were having trouble accessing food or paying their utilities even before COVID really hit. We have seen recently, there has been more people reaching out who have lost their jobs and who have, I think with the unemployment going back to the normal rate, it's gonna really affect people. I know that there's a lot of people who are worried about that. With evictions starting up last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago, I think that's really going to start hitting our communities hard. So I think it's almost like Miranda was saying, it's just starting now. If not, you know, it's going to ramp up in the next couple of weeks where people are really going to be feeling the impact of this.
Well, Miranda and Dessa, you both actually touched on something that I'm curious to know about. And doing your community work, what has the response been like? Are there any stories that have really touched you that help you to continue on doing this type of work?
I would say, I mean, there's stories every day. Every time somebody calls me, it's just, I'm learning so much. I'm learning about our community. I'm learning about our neighbors. I'm learning about what people are already doing or have been doing. It really is, like I said before, it really is this mutuality of like, I'm giving what I can and I'm asking for what I need. And we're trying to break down that barrier that is shameful to ask for help, because we all need it in some way or form at some time, and it shouldn't be a shameful thing. And I think when we build relationships, that's when people really feel comfortable of saying like, okay, like I know you're not going to judge me. I know that, you know, I feel safe. So I'm going to ask for what I really need. And then we're able to, you know, meet people where they are. We're able to get people what they need. And then they're able to kind of do what they can. And that always happens whenever we run into people at the food pantries. People are always so grateful, and they're always saying, you know, get a box of food from, you know, from the Catholic Church on Saturday, and what I don't use, I put into this food pantry. Or when I go to the grocery store and I have some extras, I always add at least one thing to the food pantry. Sometimes I take things out. There are stories that I hear and that's what keeps it going, because it is mutual. It is not, you know, us doing everything for other people and us deciding, you know, what is the best thing that they need. It's a community project where we hear, what do people need? How can we meet those needs, and how can they help us in meeting those needs? So through our buddy program, it's the social distance support program that we have elderly people matched up with neighbors, and the neighbors will call them and check in on them. And the other day I had this woman call me, and she's just the sweetest woman. And she let me know that there used to be a senior center in Maplewood, which I didn't know about, but apparently there was a senior center. It was closed down. And they used to be able to buy very affordable meals there. So like $4 meals. And she said it was such a great resource in our community. And she is really struggling to make meals, to get meals. And she said all she needs is one hot meal a week. And wouldn't it be a good idea if we had a program where we could just have neighbors take over a hot meal to their neighbors once a week? And it's just so easy. Like, we make dinner every single night. To make another portion one night a week just seemed like the easiest thing. And I love that it came from somebody who could use this program, and that we have this network already made, so we can easily get a group of neighbors to commit to doing this so easily.
You are just so inspiring. I'm over here getting goosebumps about the work that you're doing. So I just wanted to say that, there are so many stories, and just, when you're working in the community, I think each time that person, it doesn't even have to be what they say. It's the look that they give you. Like, just thank you for being there. That look is all I need to keep moving forward. I had a call today from a young man that, I think he started working with Better Family Life maybe 6 years ago. And we were helping him to get his GED. And I knew immediately he was a smart kid. And I was like, you're going to get this immediately. And he did. He flew through it. We had our finance person actually was his tutor to help him get through that math section. And so he called this morning. And, I was like, what's going on? I haven't heard from you. We're having this conversation. He says, it's really hard right now. And I just needed to go back to the basics and the people that helped me through when I was, when I was struggling, and I'm there now, and I need you guys back in my life just to talk me through this. I've made some mistakes in the last couple of years, and I need to surround myself with positive people. So I'm calling you, and just talk to me. And so this morning we just talked, for 30 minutes. What's going on? How do we navigate this? How do we hit the reset button? Now he has lost his job as a result of, one of the restaurants closing that he worked at. And, so it's, we talked through a lot of it. A lot of truths, and talked through the mistakes and some of the legal issues that this person has as a result of their mistakes, and how that's going to stop him from potentially getting a new job. So how do we clean that up? So, we're having conversations every day. At the end of the day, I wonder if I have corona, because at the end of the day, my throat is always like messed up because I can't talk, because we talk all day long. All day we're talking and having these really important conversations. And I tell you, it could be a 12-year-old child that calls just to figure out how to get on Zoom, and they're excited about, I got on Zoom to do a virtual dance class, and they're moving. That conversation is just as important as it is for me talking to, my CEO about, well, what's our next move, and what grant are we writing. All of these conversations together are what keep us moving, and they're important conversations, and touching lives from kids to the adults, from street conversations to the boardroom. All of that is important. And, just moving forward. I can't even, that was just one story this morning. There's so many stories that I can't even pick them all out, but, it is definitely, all of those things keep us moving forward.
Well, I wanted to ask both of you, I'm never really sure how to word this. I want to call it a post-COVID world, but I'm not sure that really exists. But when we're moving into a phase of life where COVID is not maybe the main thing that's in the news all the time, or it's managed better or controlled better, what does that look like for the future of the work you're doing with the community right now? For someone like Miranda, who's worked with Better Family Life previously, does that mean you add more virtual options and continue that? Dessa, you had mentioned that this was something we probably needed in the community before, so will it keep going after? I'm curious what the future looks like.
People have said the new normal, and I think this gives us an opportunity for a better normal, right? A better future, because we have a lot of the things, as Dessa said, that it wasn't COVID, it was just that COVID exposed it, right? So we had people that were hungry, that were jobless, that had all these issues before, but COVID gave them an opportunity for it to shine a light on those issues, and for them to be comfortable to ask for the help that they need. Because so many other people are asking. So now is a good time. I didn't feel like I was singled out because there's so many people in the community are asking for the same things. So, going forward, yes, we are, this has taught us a lot about virtual and access, right? Being able to have better access. People are able to get on Zoom meetings and all those things. But I think also change, now that people are really seeing these issues, it gives us an opportunity to really kind of champion some of the programs that we already had, because, we talk about healthcare, the disparities in healthcare, right? Has COVID exposed that or what? Nothing. We've said it for years that there's a disparity, but now when you see the rate that African Americans and people in impoverished areas have passed and died from this because of the underlying health conditions. Now, now is an opportunity for us to say, you see it, even today when we're talking about, suffrage and voting, we have an opportunity today, and I don't want to get too political, but expansion of Medicaid, right? Today is a day that we can make a change, that COVID has exposed this so beautifully for everyone to see that these are things that we need to change and move forward. So I think, again, yes, giving more access. We have a virtual world, but even with us, when you're talking about the digital divide, it's also shown us the digital divide, and people that had access to computers had an opportunity to really get in here quickly. And I had kids in some school districts that they started virtual in April, and they were in May, we're still trying to get worksheets because they had no computers whatsoever to get to. So again, the exposure, the silver lining is that we can see it. Everybody sees it now. So now we have, even a greater responsibility to fix those problems that were under the surface that have now risen to the top. And I think Better Family Life is well positioned because we had already been working on so many of those issues, but now we have a lot more partners and a lot of other people in the community to say, hey, this is an agency that's positioned to keep doing this work and has been doing this work. It's, and that we want to help them to continue reaching people that that have had these issues before COVID, and we're hoping that we can help get them solved in the new post-COVID world.
Yeah, everything that Miranda said, all of it. It's so true. These societal problems have been around forever, and now a lot more people know that they exist. So our work may look slightly different, but I don't think we're really going to change anything. Like, maybe we don't need the mass trees at the bus stops anymore, but people still need to get groceries. I think one of the biggest aha moments was elderly people calling to get groceries because, one, yes, they were afraid of getting corona in the grocery store, but two, they don't have transportation. How do they normally get groceries? I didn't realize this very obvious problem of elderly people not having transportation to get their own groceries. So this is something that is always going to be needed in our community. I think all of our programs are things that really just help support people who are our neighbors, who in very simple ways. And I think building those relationships now, when people are more excited to help out and they're more excited to make connections and they see the struggle so much more, is really advantageous for the movement of mutual aid. But I think it's always going to be needed, and I'm hoping that it's something that people will be excited to do after Corona.
So Miranda, I wanted to ask you to kind of talk us through the transition that Better Family Life did with their youth programming. I know that you had to move to a virtual format. Could you just walk us through that, tell our audience a little bit more about what that transition looked like for you? Oh, you're muted.
Got it. A lot of the work that we do has definitely was us going into the school. So we have several programs, after school programs, we have soccer league, we have teen pregnancy prevention, in which we go into the schools and we teach teen pregnancy prevention. So a lot of this going into the schools and touching kids, we had to pivot immediately because when the school shut down, we were shut down. And so we have a wonderful team of very creative, hardworking youth professionals. And I'll tell you, my team was on it. And so much, you saw me, I couldn't hardly unmute, right? So I had to become a Zoom expert in like, 15 minutes. But luckily other people, they were like already ready with Instagram and Facebook, and they understood, how to use the YouTube platform. So we started what we call BFly TV, Better Family Life Youth TV. And we had already had some videos, but what we did was we ran with it and we enhanced it. So we have soccer videos. So our soccer, players got their cell phones and they made, their own soccer videos from home, and we uploaded them on our YouTube page. And then we have our kids join us on the YouTube page. We were doing Facebook Live sessions. We are doing Zoom classes. But our BFly TV, if you go to www.bflyouth.org, then you can see our platform there, and you can access videos from soccer to dance, all those things right there on the website. We also are doing a virtual summer camp. We actually tried to do an in-person summer camp. Our summer camp lasted for 7 days. And the very first day, one of my workers came and was positive with COVID. The very first day. But of course, with the testing lag, we found out 6 days later, which caused us to shut down the program, shut down the building, all those things. So, going virtual, we said, look, parents, but we were talking to our parents. We had parent calls every other day. If something happens, we're going virtual. Be ready. We're going virtual. We already knew. And so when we shut it down, we gave us about 3 days and we flipped everything over. And as of right now, our art teacher, Gans, is on right now with about 6 kids doing art as we speak. So in a Zoom class, so they're doing art. And then after art, they'll have drumming today. And then we have a dance class today. So the older kids are doing all their classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and the little kids on Monday and Wednesday, they have art and they have dance. So everything is right there. You go to our website, and if there's something that you're looking for your child to do, just to see other kids, because they get there and they just talk to each other, or doing dance because they like TikTok. So hey, we got our own TikTok. You can dance, whatever it is. We want kids moving, because one thing that COVID has done is given us 10 extra pounds, right, from sitting in this house. So I'm out there trying to do whatever I can to try to get some of this extra cheeks that I've inherited due to COVID, and getting our kids out there moving and seeing each other is what we've done, and just taking it all virtually. As well as telecalls. I didn't say that. We've been calling kids, old school style, is getting on the phone and calling and just talking to kids. So everybody on our staff, they're supposed to call at least 10 kids a week, so that, there's 30 of us and we're calling 10 kids and we're reaching, do the math, we're reaching 300 kids, hopefully a week, if everybody makes their calls. So those are some of the things that we're trying to do.
That's fantastic. Dessa, I wanted to ask you also about, kind of starting this. You really started it so quickly and really on the fly. And have you encountered any challenges trying to get things up and running? And have there been any requests or ideas that really just were too much of an obstacle that you weren't able to meet?
I think the biggest challenge we had is communication and organization, and a little bit to what Miranda was talking about, how they, really quickly had to figure out different ways of communication and using the phone and actually calling people, which feels really antiquated, right? Or I guess before Corona, it felt antiquated. Now we're used to doing it. But our community, so Maplewood Richmond Heights, has a really strong group on Facebook already before this happened. So that was how it was able to happen so quickly and get so many people involved from our community, because there already are a lot of families that are on Facebook that are interacting with one another. So that was the platform that we started using. But there are a lot of challenges with that, because not everybody is on Facebook, and we want to make sure it is a community group that includes everyone. And that's just been really hard to do. So that's why the first day was flyering. It wasn't putting up Facebook posts everywhere. It was getting to people's front doors and getting something in their hand that they could use and see, because that is actually, again, another very antiquated thing to do. That is how to get to everybody. That's how we reach everybody. It was also calling the different churches. Maplewood in itself has a ton of churches. So going down the list of calling every single church and letting them know this is something that we're doing. If any of their parishioners or people that they interact with need this service, they can give us a call. So I think communication is really hard, and it continues to be hard to, is it text messages? Is it phone calls to every single person? Is it a website? Is it a Facebook group? All of the different ways. There are some different mutual aid groups that use Slack. I didn't even know what Slack was. I just got on Slack and I'm learning how to use that. But again, it's another thing. It requires people to have a smartphone and to be able to use that. With a lot of, the elderly population that we work with, it is all phone calls. So the first couple months, I was literally on the phone all day taking phone calls. And it's not just like, can I place an order for these? This is my grocery list. It's how are your kids doing? How is your health? How did your doctor's appointment go? So it is a lot of time on the phone, which is great because it's all about relationship building and getting to know our neighbors. So now, they'll call me after a doctor's appointment and let me know how it went. And I'm just that updated on their health that I'm interested and I care about them, and they'll call and let me know. So communication has, and I think always will be, a challenge to make sure it's an inclusive group, and we are thinking about everybody in our community and making everybody feel welcome. I'm really excited for when we can get together and we can have community parties in the park and we can, meet each other face to face. I think that'll be a great opportunity for building more relationships and building more community. Thinking about different asks that we've had that we haven't been able to meet. I think some of them have been the case where somebody comes up with an idea and then we realize there's already something that meets that need and we don't want to replicate services that are already there. So then we just refer people. Some of it is that we're not a 501c3, so people can't get tax deductions for their donations, and we don't want to handle a lot of money actually. So we've never asked for donations. People have donated to help out with groceries and medicine for those who can't afford it and for some of our programming, but we couldn't cover multiple people's rents. We have been able to do some direct aid to people, but we can't, pay for people's rents and utilities. We refer them to other organizations for that kind of thing. And then again, it's a community organization. If somebody has an idea, but there's nobody willing to implement or to lead that project, then it maybe isn't the right fit or it's not the right time. So we don't feel bad about letting certain programs go because there's not enough movement to continue that idea into fruition. So we're okay with saying, like, that's a great idea. Is anybody willing to lead this? And if there's not, then, maybe we'll check in a couple months down the road to see if there is, and maybe not. And that's okay. I think it's all kind of happening organically and we're allowing that to happen. And what has come out of it has done great for our community. And I think we're grateful for everybody who's been involved, but we also don't want to push people past their limit of capacity to stress people out or to, so that they don't want to be a part of the organization anymore either. So we're very cognizant of that as well.
Well, we are nearing our end time and the conversation has just been going so smoothly. Miranda, I did have one more question for you in regards to the COVID testing that Better Family Life did very early on. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about how that came about. I know there's a lot of certain things that you had to tick off with the city and the state to become a testing center. So could you tell our visitors a little bit about that?
Actually, we worked with Affinia Healthcare. and the governor had a actual task force. So Affinia did all of the heavy lifting. We provided, hey, here's the space and the time, and Affinia was able to come out, as well as Mr. Palm with the governor's office, to bring out their unit. And we just set up the time and date, and they were able to help us to navigate through all of those things. And again, we started early, so we were doing some testing. What was that, make April, May-ish? And then when the curve flattened, then, you know, a lot of the testing sites, we kind of shut them all down because the curve flattened and it looked like we were going in the right direction. And now that it's revved back up, most of there's not as many remote testing sites, because they've put them all in their centers. So Affinia, as St. Louis Cares, STL Cares, you know, People's Health, you're going to those places to get it. And they're so backlogged with tests that doing all these remote sites, they're just trying to, you know, get people to come to these certain places so that they can at least get the test through. Right now, it's taken, you know, up to 2 weeks for some people to get results back. So, you know, the remote stuff has kind of, you know, really has shut down, but that's how we did it in the early times. I wish that we had maybe continued with the testing, you know, once it got flat, if we had maybe continued going and, you know, just stayed at home for maybe 2 or 3 more weeks. But, you know, unfortunately, hindsight is 2020. 2020 is something else, right? The hindsight as well as the year. So hopefully, you know, we'll figure it out. And once the testing backlog, I know St. Louis County is working very diligently on trying to get some new, the saliva testing out, which will have hopefully be a lot more rapid. And then some people who are afraid to do the swab test, I think will be more, they'll do the saliva test a lot faster than the other tests. So hopefully going forward, we'll be able to give more services to the community for testing.
Thank you so much for sharing about that. As Shakia said, we are kind of coming to the end of our time, but we did want to ask kind of one final closing question. I was curious if people are listening and feeling inspired, and or, you know, in their own homes wondering, like wanting to help and do something and wondering, how do you get something started, or what do I do with my energy? If you have any thoughts about that, or any other closing thoughts that you would want to share.
I would say, I've always said, get to know your neighbors. That is the biggest thing for building relationships, building community, and making things happen. Like, I went out and distributed flyers, and my neighbor right next door to me heard what I was doing, and she's the one that built the Facebook group. And together we've been running or managing or kind of facilitating all of this work since then. It is me and my literal neighbor, who we did know each other before, but now we're like talking every day, and just have built so many wonderful relationships with so many people that I wouldn't have known before. So I think it's something everybody can do, is just get to know, even socially distant. You can leave a note on their door number and have a phone call with them, and sit, you know, on your porches and talk to them. So I think that's an easy thing everybody can do, and then it will eventually snowball into hopefully great relationships, but also, you know, working together to meet each other's needs as well.
I say just do it. Whatever it is that's on your heart to do, you know, do it. And if you don't know how, you know, reach out. Again, I love what you said, Des, about, you know, your neighbors, because there's likely somebody that you know that you can either contribute to something that they're doing, or, you know, step up and volunteer in something. Everybody's not a leader, and everybody doesn't have, you know, this energy to do some of the things that maybe we've been able to do. But you can certainly support others who have that energy, you know, even if it's just calling. Sometimes it's just a call from somebody that says, hey girl, I don't know how you have that much energy, but I support you, and what can I do? That helps me to say, oh man, somebody is noticing what I'm doing and maybe getting out there. And I'll tell them, hey, can you do XYZ or whatever? So if you're not that person that is the leader, then, you know, you can still lead by helping others who are in those positions to do that. So there's nothing too little that you can't do. If anybody's watching and they're like, I just, you know, that's so insignificant. Nothing is insignificant these days. Everything counts. So again, you know, Dessa talked about, I love that, cook an extra meal and take it to your neighbors. You know, I get, you know, baskets of food, and every week I get it. I call my neighbors, come on over, bring your shopping bag. Let's get this fruit out. So my seniors know, they come on over. Those are little things. And your kids, my kids are watching, because my daughter's like, I'm doing a service project and I want to do something to feed those. They're watching. People are watching you. They're watching what you do. And it'll be, you know, and hopefully this next generation, if we can keep doing what we're doing and they're watching us, and we can continue this cycle, that we will have a whole future full of philanthropists and full of community action oriented leaders. And that's what we really want, is for our future to be stable and bright, and for those leaders to take root and do the work that, you know, that we are getting a little older and a little more tired to do. But, you know, we want to inspire the future leaders to take on this work and take care of our community.
That was beautiful, Miranda.
It was just, thank you for being examples for people to watch, and for all of us to watch, and for all of the energy that both of you are bringing to this work and to your communities. And I think spreading it into your communities as well, and sharing that energy with other people. So I know it makes a real difference, and it's appreciated and noticed. So yeah, thank you again to Miranda and to Dessa for being here. Thank you to everyone who tuned in for watching today. As I mentioned in the beginning, your feedback's important, so please fill out that little survey that should have popped up. If you missed the intro comments, you want to watch this again or see some of the beginning parts, you can find this program on our Missouri Historical Society YouTube channel. It'll be posted on Monday. And thanks for being here. We hope to see you again soon.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.